So, what's the end goal? That's a really complicated question to ask when dealing with a creative endeavor, and creating a fictional universe is very much a creative endeavor. I mentioned already how artists really finish their art as much as they just find a point where they feel like there's not enough left for them to add to make any more excuses and turn it over to the public eye. But this is a bigger question than that. This is not a question about a single piece of art and when it's good enough to show to others. This is a question about a long-term investment of effort and what, if anything, it's really leading towards. Luckily, this is not about a single piece of art. This is about a process. This is about figuring out how to best create a fictional universe from a basic idea. And while there's something to the idea that you can always create better tools, you can still use the concept of a final product, of a final goal to make your workflow that much better. My final goal, the concept, the idea that I'm striving towards, is something that I simply call magic, or the magic solution. What is a magic solution? Well, imagine what you want to achieve, and imagine that there was this single tool that would make this very easy for you. Imagine it as a very good friend who you can talk to about what you're doing, and he will ask the right questions, he will give you the right ideas, and he will be there throughout the entire endeavor, making everything seem easier, safer to do. This is the end result I'm striving for, but it is a concept, it is an idea. It is not something that can realistically be achieved. So why strive for it? Well, it gives direction. Whenever I'm trying to do something, whenever I'm trying to create something, I imagine that perfect tool that I could have at my disposal if the world was built like that. And then I ask myself, what part of that tool can I create? How can I make my work easier? How can I push towards creating this fictional friend that will stand by me throughout the entire work process? And I break down all the tools that I have at my disposal, all the issues that I'm dealing with, all the challenges I'm facing, and I try to pinpoint the things that I can do, the tools that I can make, the challenges I can overcome, and I build up around that. I've already mentioned how things aren't created in one go, how you create things, and they are full of flaws, they're full of problems, they lack all kinds of content. But once you've created them, then you can go back and see what did you do wrong, and then you can create them again better. The idea with creating all these little tools is that when you create it the second time, and the third time, and the fourth time, it will be easier because you've already made the tools. You already know what questions need to be answered. And every time you do it over again, you'll have created new tools. But you need to add something to it that actually makes this a much more powerful method, which is the fact that you're going to do a lot of things over and over and over again. You don't just create one character, you don't just create one location, You create characters over and over and over again. You create numerous locations with numerous purposes. And if you ask the right questions when creating the first one, you'll have an easier time creating the second one. You build tools for everything you create. And when you add it all up, the preparation for repetition, the preparation for making things over and over again, and the need to remake everything over and over again, and making tools every time you do, so that the next time will be easier, you will gradually approach a magical solution. You will slowly be making pieces of that amazing friend who will carry you through all of it, so that next time you have to do it, there's more of that friend, and the next time there will be even more. So where do we stand now? How far have we come? How close are we to this magical solution? Well, it's no surprise that we're not that far along. This is the first generation of tools being created, so after all, they have little to build upon. We have fairly solid, if a bit basic tools for the foundation issues, things like style and genre, but we have less when it comes to more detailed matters of locations and characters. The burger model for story plots is pretty rudimentary. It does the job, but the amount of variation that's possible, and specifically the amount of easily followed instructions, easily used structures, is very low, close to nothing. It's basically one structure with a few options to vary bits and pieces of it, rather than a larger set of tools and pieces to choose from. Perhaps the most solidified set of tools is the connections between different types of media. How creating a role-playing game benefits others, how creating a comic benefits the movies by generating visual materials to use in its production. But at this point, the mantra of keep it simple, stupid, starts to bite us in the ass, because the simplicity of what you're doing also means that you operate with simpler tools. And by their nature, simpler tools mean fewer options to specialize in various issues. If you have a hammer, you hammer in nails. You don't push in screws. And thus, this is where we should start to realize that simplicity is a foundation to build upon, but not an exclusive goal in itself. We need to hone our tools if we want to push farther with our fictional universe. We are currently operating with what we could build from scratch. At the beginning, we have the first ideas of what our magical solution should be, what our helpful friend should be able to help us with, but we need to build upon that if we want to create anything more complex than what we're already dealing with. That might be a lot of gobbledygook, self-referential nonsense saying we need to make things better if we want to make things better. But the fact that we have a method, that we have a basic philosophy to work with, that gives us an edge. It's an edge that we need to use, but it is an edge.